Hey y'all, welcome back to the Team LoCoFit Roundtable. I am once again joined with Coach Gillian, aka Jill with a G. Don't spell it wrong. Just kidding. Everybody spells her name wrong. It's fine. We're
Yep.
used to it.
It's Gil. It's Gil now. So
Yeah, it's Gil. Just
I've,
Gil.
I've given up.
Hey Gil. I'm Laurin. Everybody always spells it with an E. Or Laura. I don't know. I don't feel like I ever say my name like Laura, but a lot
I
of people,
mean,
I introduce myself, they're like, hey Laura. I'm like, did I say that? But anyways, today, what are we talking about? How to spell our names? No, we're actually going to be talking about what you can learn from doing things in person. So a lot of people now really want to get into the online space, online coaching, consulting, things of that nature. But I think a lot of people really bypass the importance of doing things in person. And we both have firsthand experience with this in similar yet different ways. So I want us to both touch on those experiences. But in person can mean a lot of things. Obviously, the very obvious one is personal training, working with clients in person. The other thing that's sort of similar to that is like teaching seminars in person where you're hands-on coaching somebody. You can work in a research lab. You can run a research study, be part of that kind of a culture. We both did that, again, in different ways. And then just in general, like speaking at events. And that's not necessarily coaching people, but that's learning how to communicate in person and with other people to a live crowd. So I think that it's so vital to not only know how to speak online, but to speak in person, because that does help how you present information online. And what's the hardest thing nowadays is, people really struggle, honestly, with communication. And whether it's because they're more introverted, or whether it's they don't know how to have that kind of voice and how to, have a style, because typing is a lot different than speaking. And sometimes typing gets the job done, but sometimes you need to pick up the phone and call somebody. Sometimes you need to send a voice message. And if you don't know how to communicate, you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. So the reason I wanted to bring this up was because last week we actually had a day where we came into the campus rec employees at USF, and they said, hey, we want you to talk about communication strategies with coaches. So it was me and you came in, and you really took the lead and presented a bunch of topics and had stuff that you kind of outlined, and we just bounced ideas back and forth with each other, and then of course answered their questions. But it really spoke to how much you've grown in the past year, whereas if we had done that maybe last year, it wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have been as confident in your speaking skills. And I've noticed that you've gotten so much better at communicating in person, because you did not only work in the lab, but also worked as a trainer. So I wanted you to touch on both of those things and how that helped you.
Yeah. So I was a personal trainer at Campus Rec throughout my master's program. And I also worked in the lab, helping out with research, working with the subjects. So I got a lot of in-person experience with just training people and communicating and kind of picking their brains here and there, really getting to know them. Because when you're training your clients at the rec, it's pretty much like you're friends with them, kind of. So it was pretty easy for me to, talk with them. Not at first, obviously. It was a little bit of a challenge because it's one of those things where if you've ever been a personal trainer, some clients just aren't very talkative. So I had to do a lot of work on my end to really pull information and really just get some kind of communication going with them through their session. Otherwise, it was just an hour of me telling them what to do, and I don't want that. So I got a lot of experience from the rec and from working with the research lab, and really just like talking to clients more, and just working on my end of things and being able to speak confidently and also as an authority figure, because people are coming to you asking you questions, and they're asking you because you know your stuff. And I used to struggle a lot with how I portrayed that information and how I kind of spoke to people over the phone, or even if I was just writing something out. I had trouble kind of conveying and kind of speaking with conviction in a way where like I know what I'm talking about and I'm confident in my approach and what I'm telling you. So it's helped me in that sense, really build my confidence in speaking with people and really getting to know them, as well as just how I convey information.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's so vital. And like I said, I noticed a huge difference when you did that. And you said a really, really great thing where you have to learn how to pull information out of people and then make your best assessments from there. And that's exactly what you do as an online coach and somebody who works online with people. It's just in a different way. So if you don't know how to communicate in person, it's going to be really hard to do it in a medium that is harder for some people. Now, I have a lot of clients who are better at typing than they are talking, right? They tell me like I'm pretty introverted and I wouldn't really say a lot, but I type a lot. Other people, I meet them in person and they're, super talkative, super extroverted, but they might say a few words. So you have to learn as a coach online how to read people and how to read through the lines. Of course, part of that is just experience, but having kind of in-person stuff is so helpful. And so for me, similar but different, I did some personal training like before I ever even went to college and like did that. And then when I was in my undergrad, I actually helped out with research. I was basically helping a master's student, right? So I was in the lab with him for 2 semesters, doing all this stuff, 6 a.m, spinning blood, doing VO2 maxes, like I'm doing all this shit, right? And I'm naturally very extroverted, so it's not so hard for me to talk to people, but it still was really great experience, right? And then when I did that, I realized, wow, I really want to do my own research project. And when I did my own research, I mean, man, it was a huge difference. And honestly, going and getting my master's was the best thing I could have ever done for my coaching career, not only from what I learned and when I know, oh, wow, I don't know anything about this, but also just the communication that I built with those people. So it was basically, we had about 30 people finish my study. It was basically like I coached 30 people for 6 months, right? And I didn't coach them in the sense of I was tweaking what they were doing because that's unethical for research, but I was essentially learning communication patterns and just drilling them with questions and just seeing how things were going. And you kind of develop this relationship with people. So that was so incredibly helpful for me. And I wouldn't trade that experience for literally anything. And that has helped me so much with, in-person speaking events on here. And that's still a skill that has to be refined over and over and over again. I mean, if you listen back to the first podcast I ever did to now, it's better. And then hopefully in a few years, I'm even better than now, or fucking hope so, right? Still not the most concise person, but I'm working on it. And it's a lot better than it used to be. I mean, think about now, like, go back and listen to Joe Rogan's first podcast. I'm sure they were god awful, right? And then now, he's one of the best, in my opinion, communicators and interviewers, just based on how he is open and receptive and asks the right questions. So those are skills that just take a really, really long time to refine. I mean, same thing with, any kind of person who speaks for a living or comedians or whatever, right? Like when you first hear them, like, yeah, they might have funny jokes, but being able to always be funny and always convey things that are interesting and make you laugh is a huge skill. And the only way you develop that is by getting booed off stage and people like not laughing at your jokes, right? So you have to kind of just do it. And if you can put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, whether it is training people in person or whether it is helping out with research, or just even going to events. So say like you're in a position, right, and you're listening and you're like, hey, I want to get more into this, but I'm not somebody who can really do that based on my life, right? Like I have a regular job and I'm trying to get into the online space as well. I'm not in school. And so I can't really do this training thing or, work in a lab. What can I do? And, maybe you're not necessarily qualified to be giving seminars or you don't want to, or you don't have time for it. You can still go to events, right? And you can still network. The biggest thing, if you ever go to an event, people say like, oh, I'm here for the networking. And that really is what it's about. It's about seeing people. It's about meeting people. It's about talking to them in person. It's about hearing how they deliver a message. And that's how I've learned so much, is not only just being at events like speaking, but going to tons and tons of seminars and seeing how people say things and saying, oh, I like that, or oh, I don't like that. I'm going to use that as a mental note to not do that. And you can see all of these things, and it's so vital. I mean, would you agree, Jill, that like the more things that you go to, the better you become as a professional?
Yeah, I feel like, for me, the first obstacle was really, talking to people and getting information from them. But more recently, the bigger challenge for me was actually going out to those conferences and, the Physique Summit and other, educational events where I can learn from other people. And mainly that's because, I'm a more introverted person, if you could not already tell. And, putting myself out there in a sense where like I'm at this event and I'm flying out here and I'm going to be there for a set number of days and I can't just walk away and go home. I can't just, drive home to my apartment with my dog. that's a little nerve-wracking for me, in a sense where I'm like, I don't want to feel trapped where I am, but I need to put myself out in that environment and really challenge myself to this experience. And those experiences those experiences end up being the best ever. And I would have regretted it immensely if I did not go to the Physique Summit this past year.
I know. I remember you telling me, you were like, I almost thought about not going just because there's gonna be
Yeah.
so many people. And I was like, what? And just because I know how powerful that event is, and there's about 100 people there. So it is a big event. There's some big name speakers and there's a lot of people there. It's a full weekend. Like, you're busy the whole time. And it can be very draining. Even for an extrovert, it's still draining, right? But it is harder when you're somebody who is a little bit more nervous. I mean, even doing this is more nerve-wracking for you than some other people, right? Like, that's just going to be the reality of the situation. Like, you're on camera, you're being filmed, you're speaking, it's live. It's not like, oh, I wrote this down. And that's just something that you have to develop over time, and you've gotten so much better. So I think it really just speaks volumes to doing things in person. So I think for anybody listening who is interested in becoming a better online communicator, you can never replace in-person communications first. So if you have the opportunity to be a personal trainer, even if it's just a few clients on the side, do that. If you have the opportunity to help out in a research lab, whether it's running your own project or just helping out in the lab in general, do that. And if you can, which I know everybody can, so it's not if you can, it's go do this. Go to every seminar possible that you can. If there is a few people that you like speaking, or just even one person there that you like, and the trip is feasible, make it happen. I've traveled all over the country to go to events, and I spent a lot of money learning from the best people, and it's the hands down the best thing that I ever could have done. And just, even if you know those things from those people, you guys, if you follow me or listen to anything I say, you know that I love Jocko Willink and Echelon Front and all their stuff, right? Listen to their podcasts, read all their books. And so you would think, oh, why would you need to go to their leadership conferences, right? Why would you need to go to that? It's very expensive, several $1,000s. And it's, what are you going to get from that? I learned so much last year. It was the best event I ever went to, and I invested lots of money, and it was worth every single penny. I learned so much, not only from the message that they were giving, but also how they presented things, which is important for me because I run events and I speak at events and things of that nature. And I want to be somebody who is as respected as them. Oh, how do they run stuff? How do they do things? Oh, this is why it costs that much money. This is why they are where they're at. And it was very eye-opening for me. So going to things and investing your time and your money and your resources and really putting yourself out there. Because again, you could just go there and just like, oh, okay, I'll listen and I'll leave. No. I'm hanging around. I'm trying to talk to people. I'm learning. And again, that is me. And even though that's easier for me, it's still kind of still nerve-wracking, because it's like, well, these people don't know me, and you don't want to be that kind of like weird person. But you kind of just have to put that aside and say, you know what, I'm here for this experience, and this is what I'm going to do. So if you can do that, you guys, those are all really, really important things in order to become a better online communicator, is just starting in person first. And I think that we're going to definitely see a resurgence in kind of just in-person things, and in-person, not even just like events, but just people having more like connection and really, really enjoying that. I mean, we're even having our first team meetup. I mean, I've been coaching now for many, many years, and it never even dawned on me to have something like this. And not everybody's gonna be able to come, but a handful of our clients are gonna be able to be there and actually meet in person. And that's super exciting, because I started noticing, over the past 2 years, okay, when we go to the national shows, it's not just the clients who go anymore. Sometimes it's just friends and some of the other clients, right? Like, and now it's at this big party, and there's a little group of us, and it's like cool, and we get to travel and do whatever. Or whether it's like, oh, hey, we're going to go to the speaking event, right? And we have a few clients come into town, and it's like, oh, this is awesome, right? And I was like, what, we just need to like do a meetup. And like, I think things like that are going to get even more important. And so if you are not thinking that doing in-person things is going to benefit your online business, I think you're going to be very sadly mistaken. So I want everybody to know that you can, no matter what capacity it is. And another thing that I do that you guys always make fun of me for, that meme was like classic the other day. So something that is really helpful, if say like you want to get started and like you're like, hey, I am not even like close to being able to do this because that's super intimidating. Start talking to people like that you don't know. And I know that sounds like psycho, but literally when I go places, whether it's the grocery store or the mall or whatever, yeah. Jillian and Karina are just like, get away. And I never even realized it until kind of recently, but I just talk to people, and I'll like just saying simple things, and having conversations like you're at the grocery store at checkout. Don't just be like, literally talk to people. It doesn't need to be like, ask them how their life is going, but just having this like basic conversation, these communication skills is so powerful. I can't remember where we were, but like literally we were somewhere and you guys were just like, yeah, you talk to everybody.
Actually, I've been doing more of that recently though, now that I think about it.
It helps.
Like I literally got in like a full-on conversation. I always get into like really good conversations when I'm at the dog park now. So it's like I just go there, I run my mouth, I walk around, watch my dog be cute, and I go home and I'm like, oh, why am I so tired?
But you're getting better at talking to people. And
so now I can like hold a conversation with this random guy at the dog park who I just met. So
yes,
it does really make a difference.
And why does that help? Oh, wait, let me guess. If you're trying to have an online business, you need to work with people.
Yeah.
And if you need to work with people, they're going to have to contact you in some way. So whether it's email, written, you need to be good at that. You need to be good at voice message, or you need to be good at phone. Or, in best case scenario, if somebody's doing in-person consulting, which is a whole different kind of thing, but let's just say it's all online in distance. I mean, not necessarily even online, because if it's phone call, now my hands are all crazy. I need to tie my hands up. We were literally at a bar the other night and there was a drink like 8 feet behind me, not really, but very far behind me. And I'm talking and going and I was like, oh my God. And my friend who was there, he was just like, this is the most Laurin thing that could have happened like ever. Like the cup was not even near you and you broke it. Anyways.
That's why we can't take you anywhere.
I'm like, I wasn't even drunk. I'm just talking with my hands. Anyways. So, okay. Like, talking at the dog park with people, why is that important? Well, you're going to have to communicate with future clients, customers, businesses, all these kinds of things. And if you can't do that, you're going to get passed up by somebody who can. So in-person communications are so important. Start small, start at the dog park, at the grocery store, hold the door for somebody. Hey, no problem, whatever. Or literally it's that simple. So people are maybe a little bit more introverted, and not even just introverted, but they're just not used to communicating in person as much anymore. And I think that's such a valuable skill, no matter what your job or your career is, but particularly don't downplay that if you are trying to just get into the online space. Being in person is something that you can never replace, and those skills are so valuable. So anything else to add?
No, I mean, we pretty much hit everything that I was thinking too. So
yeah. We'll stop running our mouths, particularly me. If you guys have any questions, of course, always let us know. No, you can't like, Jesus Christ. I mean, can't like a podcast. Well, hopefully you liked the podcast, but you can
like this one.
Yeah, you can like this podcast, just as a general statement. Subscribe, 10-star review, the whole deal. We would love to hear feedback from you guys. And if you are looking for more content, more information, you can go to our website, teamlocofit.com. On there, we have a ton of great resources, lots of awesome articles about different topics, and even a whole new series of Science Simplified from Gillian, where she takes a scientific article every week, breaks it down. It's an easy read. You get the meat and potatoes of what's going on. And you can subscribe to our newsletter there. You can talk to us about coaching, apply, all the things. So if you have any questions, just go to teamlocofit.com. We look forward to hearing from you guys, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.